Hello everyone. In this video, we'll be discussing about strain energy and its relevance in the day-to-day life and what does it calculates inside the structure. The concept of strain energy helps to calculate deformations in the structure when the structures are subjected to different applied loads. So when a load is applied, a work is done by the load on the structure, and this amount of energy is stored inside the structure as a strain energy. So this is basically when a load is applied on the structure somewhere deforms, and this is kind of a deformation energy because this goes with the word strain, and strain is mostly a measure of energy. So what you are trying to do, you are storing the deformation energy. So it's very important here to note that if the stresses are within the elastic limit, then the structure can regain its shape and its size. So that means that within the elastic limit, the strain energy is very much recoverable. So let me tell you with the examples. Like, let me take a popular beam, which is like this, a 3D one, which we have used in each of our examples, and this is being loaded by a load P. On the application of load P, this will be getting deformed. So once it will get deformed due to the application of the load, it will store the amount of energy inside it, and that energy stored due to the deformation of the structure is known as strain energy of the body. So if I'll make a kind of a graph, if I'll make a graph of this, let's assume that this is a linear elastic material. Linear elastic material is a linear elastic. So for our importance, these two things are very important. It should be linear behavior. The behavior of the material on the applied load will be linear. It should be elastic. Elastic means that once you remove this material, that means the load is removed, it will come back to its original position. So that means that strain energy will be recoverable. So if you load the structure, so your load displacement curve would look like this. If you load the structure, it will be linear in the fashion like it's line, and elastic means if you remove the load, like you are at this point, and if we wanted to remove the load, then we come back to its original position. Let's take an example through this beam. So let's say this is a beam. I've just, since this is a bit longer, I'll fix this at this point. Okay, now I'm fixing this at this point. Now I'm applying a load. Once I apply a load, it is within the elastic limit. I remove it, it will go back to its original shape and size. I'll apply a load, and from this side I have fixed it like I have done here, and I have removing it. I'm removing the load, it will go back to its original. It will vibrate to its natural frequency, and then it will come to its median position, and it will remove all the elastic energy stored inside the body. If I load it beyond a certain limit, it may offer a bit of, it will not come back to its original position because it has now bended from here. So it has gone in the plastic region. So then the energy will not be recoverable, energy will be dissipated in plasticity. This is a typical aluminum rod, so energy will be dissipated in plasticity. If I make this a bit proper, apply a load which is within my elastic limit, it will move back to its original position. So I hope that you will be able to understand now what is the difference between elasticity and plasticity. So if I am within my elastic region, the load will come back to its original position. If I'll go beyond this, the behavior will be different for different material. This will be for MS mild steel. This will be for aluminium, like the beam that I've shown you. This is for aluminium MS, and for some brittle material. These are ductile material that shows large amount of strain on the application of load. For brittle materials like composites and some foams are also there, polymers, concrete, and that's why I'll tell you why this strain energy concept is very much close to related with the civil engineering. I'll tell you why. And after this linear things happen, then in most of the brittle material, the failure occurs at this point only. Though they may have some higher strength, they may go like this for brittle materials, and then they will show failure. So brittle materials takes a less amount of strain, and that means less amount of deformation, and they can take higher strains. So depending upon the application, we use different materials there. So what my point is that if we are within the elastic limit and our material is linear within the elastic limit, then let's take this till now. So what will be my energy? My energy, I don't know, but my work done will be area under this curve. Area under this curve will be my work done. This usually happens, and the area is this is very famously called as a load displacement curve in terms of strain energy. So my work done will be equal to area of the triangle. What is area here? A half base into height. Base is load, height is height is load, and base is the delta. Whatever the delta here it is, we'll take the delta. So this will be the work done amount of work done occurring here. So now it's important to see that this area here is produced as a result of linear elastic nature of the material. So load displacement becomes very effective here. So with the help of area, we are able to obtain the load displacement curve. And if you see any of this section, like this deformed section, if you see, then at any of this section you can create a kind of a section and just remove it and make a 3D of it. And on this section you will be having stress components or resultant or stress components acting on this plane. So we used to take the overall stress component sigma as a resultant stress component. Okay. So this amount of work done will be basically the resistance offered by this stress. This will be kind of actually the resistance offered by the resultant stresses acting inside the bodies. So this work done is also equal to, since the work is done by the external forces, load P and other things, so this work done is also equal to energy, or more precisely strain energy. More precisely strain energy. So strain energy mostly represented by U. You can write also that U equals to half P delta. And remember that this is not the standard expression of strain energy. Strain energy depends upon the way you are loading it, the way the load displacement curve is occurring. In this case, it was linear, looks like a triangle, so I have taken half base into height, half p delta. However, in other cases, it may be different. It may be different in other cases. Like for example, if the material, let's say, it's non-linear, it's not linear in most of the cases. Like some polymers, the material moves like this. So in this case, and then the failure occurs. This is not plasticity. This is not proper plasticity. This shows some kind of non-linearity inside. So for this type of non-linear material, for the load displacement curve, how we will obtain the energy inside it, area under the load displacement curve? We'll use a typical integration rule. Take a small strip of delta x, and which is at a distance x from this, and let's integrate it. Let's integrate this. So the work done will be, the area under the curve will be 0 to delta p delta x. Now you can integrate it, and you can obtain the work done by the external forces. This will be the work done by external forces. Remember that the work done by the external forces are, it's looking like numerically this is true. This is also the work done by the external forces, load P. Work done by the external forces, load P, in this case also. But actually what happens? Actually, it is the work done by the internal stress resistance, resultant, internal stress resultant, that I have shown here. At any cross section if you take, there will be many stress components varying in different phase, but the overall sum we used to take it as a resultant one, and this strain energy or work done is actually a result of the internal stresses, work done by this internal stresses, and not actually the load that we are dealing with. So now I think it will be clear to you what exactly strain energy is. It is the amount of energy absorbed due to the deformation occurring because of the load P. So it may be like this and this. Further, let's say different condition. Let's see different conditions that in which the strain energy can be obtained. So different conditions. What are the different loading conditions? The one loading condition may be directly normal stress, applying as a normal stress, and these normal stresses may be tensile, or compressive. And further they may also be further divided in terms of how they are applied. They may be gradually applying, means that is applying slowly and slowly. You are increasing the load slowly and slowly. The another way may be to apply the load suddenly, so that's the increased strain rate, and the another way may be as an impact load. So in each and every, I am not going to define each and every one. What I am trying to say that with this type of loading, with this type of loading stresses, like the normal stresses, which may be tensile or compressive, you may experience these different kinds of situations. If you're going to solve the numerical problem may be kind of in the numerical problem you may find some impact load acting on some structure. So in that case, what will be the impact energy? You have to consider the height of the drop also. We'll do some numerical problems related to that also. So further, so one type of loading is normal stress. The another may be a bending stress. A bending may be the another kind of loading, and there may be shearing stress. Shearing stress applied. The structure is fully loaded in shear. We have a normal, we have a bending, and we have a shear. And further, we may be having a torsion. Also. So these are the different kinds of different situations of loading. So let me, since there may be some people who don't know what these different kinds of loadings are, let me explain you. Normal stresses, you know, if you have a bar and you are applying a tensile load, this will be the normal load. Okay, example of a normal load. This may be tensile or it may be compressive. So this is the example of a normal one. Now bending, in case of bending, we used to have a beam which is, let's say, fixed in different positions, and we apply, let's say, a moment here. So this will be kind of a bending load given. So how does this beam will behave? And we may be having a torsion also. Let me tell you before this that in different types of loading, let's say this is our bar, simple bar. Okay, if I'll load this bar, let's say I fixed this at this point and I'm loading this. I'm applying the load in this direction. So if I'm loading this will be my normal stress. Applying loading like this. So this is bar then. If I'm applying axial load, this is bar. People don't understand the difference between the bar and the beam and the column. Difference between a bar, beam and column. The main difference is how you load it. The bar is this. So this is the bar, applying a axial load like this. You are applying axial load, or you can apply load from both sides. So when you are applying it axially, this is a bar. If you are bending it, fixing from, like in this case, I am applying a bending moment. Let's say, since it is not coming in the frame, let's say something very similar happens symmetrically here. So what I am doing, I am applying a load like this. I am bending it like this. So this is a bending behavior. So this becomes a beam then. If I am bending it, it becomes a beam. And if I am loading it in a compression mode, let's say this is the same beam, since this is a bit longer, and this is a same beam, I have kept it like this and applying a load on the top, then this becomes a column. If I am applying a load from the top, then this becomes a column. So you have seen bar. The example of bar is very famous, applied in various applications. Beam, in the case of beam, you have seen the beams that are put on the roofs, on our roofs. The civil construction people used to put beams there so that the load is evenly distributed on the whole roof. And in columns, you have seen columns in your departments also. You have seen different columns which are vertically placed so that the roofs are supported. So in the column, you know that there is a load acting from the top. So from the top, the load is acting from. So there are one column here, there may be several columns, and the load is coming from the top. So in that case, the same thing becomes a column if I am loading it, so that it will avoid the buckling. And then beam is when I am doing a bending case, and for a bar it will be a loading case. I hope you will be getting this. And what will be the torsion? Torsion case in the same thing if I am applying the twisted moment. A rotation from this side, like in a clockwise direction, anti-clockwise from this. So clockwise from one side, anti-clockwise from other side, it will make the beam to twist, make the beam to twist. So that will be the twisting moment. Shearing, you know what happens. So remember, the difference between these three, it depends upon the type of loading. So I hope this video would be informative. Let's make this a bit shorter, and then on the next video we'll be discussing some of the different conditions, like what happens in the case of normal stresses, what happens in the case of bending, shearing and torsion cases. Okay, we'll try to discuss them separately in each of the videos. Thank you.